40 acres on campus grounds. We gather round, discussing goals and dreams and life's adventures. The Texas Longhorns, they're the talk of the town. High castles of the 40 acres, where we dive deep into the game day stories. From touchdowns to heartbreakers, we discuss it all. Texas Longhorns glory. There we gather round each Thursday night, talking sports. It's so alright. From football to basketball, baseball to softball, Tim Wayne and Harry, we cover it all. Sports talk is our passion, our delight. Thursday night at 8:30, we unite. We discuss the scores, the plays, the teams you might. Let's dive into the game, let's ignite.
12 conference champions.
Whoa, I forgot to bring us in. Hello. My bad. Welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be. Welcome to the Longhorn Fan Battle Sports podcast. Not going well for me. My name is Harish. Of course, as always, this is my boy, Tim Wayne. And this is our guy, Matt Brown. You guys know Matt Brown. Hopefully, we'll give you a little introduction here. Tim, how you doing today, man?
The storm has rolled through Austin. It is destroyed a major branch on my tree, but all is well. All is great, with more surprises in less than 24 hours. Of course, we got friend of the show, Matt Brown, here, so I'm always happy and ready to go.
Awesome. Well, Matt Brown, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, friends. As y'all might imagine, it's been a very busy week here for me, trying to juggle some non-video game stories with the stuff that, what the internet actually seems to really care about here right now. And every time that there's any kind of official update, I'm the guy that people want to talk to, I guess. So that's a blessing, and happy to chat here for a little bit.
Awesome. Well, hey, we've got a lot to get to, just kind of what we've seen today. But first, let's pay some bills. We are brought to you by fanbattlesports.com, fanbattlesports.com, where you can find the latest and greatest on the AFC South, including the Mayo Eaton Titans, the Colts, the Houston Texans, and, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who can't seem to put a team together behind generational talents. fanbattlesports.com. If you guys are interested in starting your own show, of course, hit us up, contact us, give us your information, and we would be glad to get you set up with your own setup. We'll get you everything you need. The streaming setup, all that good stuff, fanbattlesports.com. Of course, follow us on Twitter. We just hit 2,500 followers last week, so we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for supporting us as we get this thing rolling off the ground. But follow us on Twitter at LHFanBattle. And then, of course, while you guys are here, like, subscribe, comment on the video, ask any questions you might have. We'll try to get it to anything that we can. And we appreciate it. Matt, before we get started, I know we've had you on the show before. You're the publisher of the Extra Points newsletter. Do you want to give everybody kind of a reintroduction to all of our new viewers so that they know
Sure.
Kind of get on who you are?
So I'm a sports writer based in Chicago. I publish Extra Points, which is a newsletter that covers off-the-field stories in the college sports industry. That includes everything from conference realignment to NIL to academic research to labor law, a lot of the stuff that's shaping and changing college athletics on an existential level right now. But it also includes the video game because I've been writing about licensing and intellectual property and some of that kind of back end work, which got me into the video game. And now I've been writing also quite a bit about the development of EA Sports College Football 25.
Awesome. I know it's been quite the journey for you. I know you've gone from writing the newsletter to now, getting on shows frequently, talking a lot about the game, especially as we get closer and closer to these events. Through your journey, just real quick, what's probably been your most favorite part about this entire journey?
I honestly, I think that one of my favorite things has been the fact that I've been able to develop a lot more relationships with the people that actually make the game.
Right.
And I think that there's a real disconnect among just regular fans from people that don't really understand how video games are made, right? They don't understand the work that goes into it. They don't understand how complicated and expensive and all of this stuff is, and who the human beings are, right? And I think that's as more people begin to get just a tiny little bit of understanding about what it means to do QA testing, what it means to be involved in systems architecture, what it means to actually translate an idea from a whiteboard into what you see on a PlayStation, that they'll be filled with a little bit more empathy towards the human beings that made the thing. And also, I think, for me, legitimately, a deeper sense of wonder and appreciation for the thing that you're actually experiencing, because you recognize how difficult and what a major endeavor it is to get that. I'm a terrible software developer. I've made only a tiny little computer game here myself, and even that has changed my thinking. But then getting to talk to people that's like, yeah, my job is I animate the shadows. My job is to help turn this uniform from 1956 into something that could fit on an offensive lineman in a tight end when you play on your Xbox. Right. I like that stuff. And learning more about how that all fits together and the human beings that make it happen, that's been really rewarding for me.
Awesome. Well, we are very excited to dive in here. Of course, today, and you wrote about this in your newsletter, I want to say maybe early yesterday, about what to expect and tempering our expectations for what to expect as far as the real reveal goes today. So those of you guys that don't know, Tim and I used to work at EA, so we kind of get an understanding of how the campaign works and all this stuff. What you saw today was basically step one of the campaign, right? Introduce the game, name the cover athletes, name all the pre-order bonuses, Madden Ultimate Team this, Surprise Ultimate Team that. So we know that, Ultimate Team is going to be a part of this new game, along with RTG and Dynasty mode. Now, Matt, as far as the information that came out today, and going back to the reveal of the covers, did anything surprise you based on what you wrote in your newsletter and what we actually received today?
Not a whole lot. I mean, the athletes you saw today were the athletes I was told about in mid-April, and the people that I had to promise to embargo. When I got that information, I wasn't certain if there were going to be 2 or 3 covers. I did not actually see the final cover when I got that information. So like the actual image, that was new. But I also heard earlier in the week that, hey, there were some plans to have a longer announcement today. I don't know if those changed because of some leaks that, let the record state, not my leaks, like Sony's leaks, other stuff, right? You can't, I don't know if the plans changed because of that. I also had somebody on the team tell me like the video actually needed an extra day of work, and so we figured, we could drop one thing today that just gives us another bite at the media apple tomorrow, and we've got another 10 days of kind of drip, information between this and Madden. So I wasn't expecting a gameplay trailer or anything today. That hasn't. Candidly, I'm not really expecting deeply meaningful gameplay information tomorrow, but I know that there are people concerned about that, and that stuff is coming this month.
Yeah, awesome. We know about the additions of the games. Obviously, you have the MVP edition, which gives you a Madden 2-for-1. By the way, smart, very, very smart marketing move. I think it says a couple things with this release here. They are trying to me anyway, this kind of feels like they're trying to make both of these games cohesive again. You guys know NCAA and Madden back in the day were very cohesive games. They were not made by the same dev teams, but you can do anything that you did in Madden and NCAA back in the day, you can basically import into Madden. And it looks like that is still happening. First off, Tim, what are your thoughts on what you're seeing as far as content that was released today and what we received today? And then Matt, I have a follow-up question for you, which is that really the plan from a marketing scheme, is to make these 2 games, the decisiveness to announce Madden today as well, kind of not prematurely, but like kind of like candidly with the MVP release of the edition, MVP release edition. That was announced today as well.
So I'll say this. I do think that we jumped the gun. I think and I spoke on this earlier this morning. Well, we did think that there was actually a possible trailer, maybe something that would get teased out there. Unfortunately, like we said, as we were kind of, watching along and seeing things kind of unravel as in real time, it did state that it was just a cover reveal. And prior to that, I did have, we were talking offline. I did say, hey, man, this says cover reveal. I know they said a full reveal back in February, where we first was introduced to Matt, and we introduced him to our community, saying, hey, like, we'll do a full review in May. They didn't necessarily give us a complete complete date or a solid date. It was just, hey, we're gonna put this out here. So of course, we get the information, we get the countdown. It kind of grabs everybody by the horns. ESPN covers, the internet is up in arms and so forth. Listen, if we're gonna get a trailer tomorrow, and from what I did speak to one of our former employees, they said it's nice. It's a nice trailer. They didn't really go into detail about that, but just the one word, it's going to be nice. You're going to enjoy it, and that was that. So I'm just excited. I think we need to, again, like Matt stated earlier, temper your expectations, let things just kind of subside, and we know that EA will trickle these things out. We just got to pay attention. Maybe keep your notifications on. And just kind of ride it out. Like, just let things come. We're getting a trailer on tomorrow. I'm pretty sure they'll give us more information at the end of that trailer on when to look for what's next to come out.
Yeah, I mean, the potential fusion or the relationship between this game and Madden, I think, is an interesting question, because one of the consumer complaints that I know developers and marketing and communications are really sensitive to is the idea that this game is a Madden reskin, right? Or the exact same kind of game as Madden. And
that is exactly what the community is saying.
That's what the community says. That's what internet consumers say. And part of me is I think a little challenged to write about this, because I'm not a diehard Madden guy. I don't really follow the NFL terribly closely. Right. I got a copy of Madden so I could, to help me prepare for writing formal reviews for the college game. And I've played it. And look, the game has some strengths. It has some weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, fusing these games in the perception of a consumer, runs that risk of people that look at the gameplay of Madden with that and not charitably, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, obviously there's a huge overlap between these two products. Like not every college football guy is a Madden guy, and there's there's way more Madden people than there are college football people. Absolutely. That game is not going to. There's people on the internet like these games are going to sell the same amount of money. I'm like, they sure as hell are not. They are not going to sell. Madden is going to 3x, 4x the revenue of college football. And it's not going to be close.
It has too big of a casual reach.
Yeah, it has a casual reach and a global reach.
Global reach.
In a way that this game does not. That being, and so it'll be interesting, I think, to see how these two things kind of work together once it's released. The one thing I'll add, and I legitimately don't know the answer to how this is going to work yet, is with importing players between the two. One of the concerns that's been raised to me from licensing professionals is like, hey, we've inspected the contract that the college kids got. And that's a contract that authorizes their depiction in EA Sports College Football 25 and any associated and affiliated products, whether that is a companion mobile app or advertising, but not for Madden and not for any other game. If you want to pay a college kid to be a Madden, you got to give them a different deal. And they haven't given a different deal. Just like the NFLPA Legends contract and the NFLPA Current Players contract are different deals. Right. So that being said, like, I think that there would be a licensing issue if you play the game and Texas as in your dynasty and you want to import Quinn Ewers into the NFL and stick him on the Falcons or something. Unless there's a financial workaround there, I think that would be a challenge. Does that mean that there can't be any interplay between the two games? No. Does EA have some kind of restriction or feature or limitation or more information about that they haven't shared with me? Probably. But something to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
We've talked about gateways in the past and how EA can easily kind of program anything they want into the game, and then gateway things based on how what is accepting and not accepting. And those of you that are familiar with flags and flags on the back end that can gateway things, essentially, these are things that they could say, maybe this year we can't do it, but let's go ahead and build it now so it's there as an infrastructure piece. That way, further down in the future, if we want to put it in, it's just a click of a button on the back end that kind of just like, quote unquote, a switch, right? That kind of says, allow this flag is now true versus this flag is now false. So that is an option there. And that's kind of the exploratory thing that I'm curious about is what are some of these things that are gateways? And you bring an interesting point about the contracts, right? Again, it's not something I've thought of, and it's probably not something we ever even thought about thinking of, right? The fact that if we were to import this player, Quinn Ewers, for example, into Madden, is there a separate contract, and how does Quinn benefit from an NIL, even dealings perspective into that contract is something that I didn't even think about. So I think that's very interesting. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm not sure if that is even something it's talked about. Do you know if that's even a thing, or is that something
I know it's a thing because people in the company have told me it's a thing. They have not told me the resolution to that thing. And,
Gotcha.
I hope that is something we all get more clarity about over the next 10 days or so, among myriad other questions I'm sure everybody has.
My now that we're talking about contracts, I'm curious to know if there's going to be individual contracts, or will this be basically if you've signed the NIL deal, is there a way to work around and include, possibly being included in Madden within that existing deal? Not too sure, but it's just something to think about. I mean, individual deals, that's a lot of work. I don't know if that's something that EA and the NFL would possibly do. But maybe they come up with something kind of like the NFLPA or the NFLPA Legends Group. Maybe they come up with something like that and work out a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, I have a copy of the deal they sent all the athletes.
Oh, okay.
And I've read it, right? It's 4 or 5 pages. It doesn't say anything about Madden. It does explicitly talk about just, anything under the EA CFB 25 umbrella.
Right.
What EA did is they sent out a copy of that deal to every single athlete, right? Like that's the group license. There's one contract for all, nearly 12,000 people.
Right.
There's a secondary contract that they gave to, I think it was around 200 athletes, and not even all of them were football players. Some of them were basketball players. A couple of them were women athletes, to promote the game, to give them extra money. And then there's a third level contract for the guys on the cover.
Right.
And they're getting paid even more photo shoot and for other things. Do those athletes in the secondary and third tier deals have a separate arrangement with Madden? I don't know. I haven't. Those are all different, so I haven't seen them. I don't know if there's another back end, right? And I don't want to speculate too much there because nobody's wanted to talk to me about that even on background, which makes me think either the news is bad or the news is more complicated. And so I'll listen and wait for their response. It's definitely a capital T thing.
Sure. Got it. I guess maybe Tim, anything you want to cover, Tim? Any questions you might have?
No, I will. I guess what I want to ask is just like, Matt, like, how are you dealing with all of this information that's constantly being fed to you on almost like a daily basis? Because it seems like, if not on a daily basis, every other day you've got something that comes out or something that you can tweet out and share with the masses, on the game. So within the last couple of months, just how have you handled all of the information that is being fed to you?
It's hard, man. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And I think it would be easier if this was my only beat, or if this was like the primary thing I talk about, right? But I tell people, like, you gotta check out the newsletter. Literally today, I published a story about Utah's multimedia rights and some of like the major business that's happening in the licensing world. I had updates early, a couple of days ago about conference realignment in the Southland Conference, about Stephen F. Austin, and about what's happening in the WCC. Right. I have a couple of stories that I'm working on right now about like fencing and about rugby, and so so you're right, managing all of that, and then a lot of the information I'm getting from the licensing world and the school world and from EA. That is a challenge. I have a Trello board. I have a bunch of other things. One of the harder things for me, and this isn't a criticism, it's just I'm not really used to this much regular consumer interest in what I'm doing. I can't keep track of all my DMs. I've actually like lost sources trying to hit me up because I just get so many questions from people at the game in the DMs and I can't answer them all.
Right.
Some of them I don't want to answer because they're dumb questions or they're things that, if I write about something 4 times and you choose not to read it, and then you think that we know each other, you should just DM me a question and get mad at me if I don't answer. That's not how any of this stuff works, man. That's not how I buy Lunchables. That's not how I pay my mortgage.
Right.
So that's been a little bit of a struggle because I don't have the AD at Akron, treating me that way, right? I don't have the Southwood commissioner acting like that. But it's a good problem to have still, because the hope is for all of these people that find me just because of the video game. I know they're not all going to stick around, but my hope is that many of them decide, hey, actually, a lot of this other stuff's pretty interesting. And I'm learning enough about the game that it's worth me kind of hanging around. But it has meant it's been a very busy April and a very busy May. And it's going to be a wild, next couple of weeks. I think when this game comes out, like I'm gonna grab a beverage and I'm gonna say I'm turning off my phone for a couple of days, y'all. Like I think I've earned this.
Yeah, I think
you definitely have.
I definitely feel that you've owned that, or you've earned that. You've definitely become, the go-to guy for all things EA Sports College Football. And again, there are people out there. There are other, guys out there that are strictly, they're in the video game world, but you cover so much stuff, and so it's just kind of. I know with the video game industry, stuff gets fed all the time. You can get one piece of information. It could be retracted. Hey, we're going a different direction. We're going to do this, XYZ. Tons of embargoes. Hey, you can say this at this time. Hey, you can't say this until this. You can't do this until this. You can't do this until that.
That's hard.
I know that's got to I don't know how you're able to keep all of that. When we were at EA, it was a simple, when you sign on, you sign an NDA, right? You walk in the building, no photos, no videos, no anything like that. So that's very flat. Like that covers a lot, but it's just all of the information that you're being fed. It's just what you can and can't say. I know that's got to be.
It is. And I know it's frustrating, I think, for consumers too, because there's a couple of people and they're loud. It's not nearly the majority, but a handful that are like, this dude is just trying to milk his time in the sun, and he's purposely gatekeeping stuff so he doesn't, so he could be important longer. And I'm like, guys, I swear, I promise you, that's not what I'm doing. Yeah, there's a lot of things here where I want people who talk to me, including people at EA, to feel like I'm a man of my word. And so if I say I'm gonna honor an embargo, I'm gonna honor an embargo, right? Like even if it gets leaked somewhere else. Like about the cover, people DMing me like, hey, this cover leaked. Do you have any comment? I'm like, my comments are, I ain't saying shit because I've already said exactly right what I promised I'd say, and that's it. I think the other challenge too, right, is a lot of people will throw stuff at the wall in the DMs or text me, and I ignore a lot of it, even if some of that stuff's turned out to be true, because I have to have. I really err on the side of being conservative when I'm talking about this product. Or even speculating. And I think part of that is because, the sad truth, media literacy among the video game community is typically not very good. And a lot of what I say is going to get aggregated 3 different ways from Sunday. And every time it does, some important context is going to get leaked out. Right. So I got to think here, not just about how I can say something, but how that thing's going to look when it gets, telephoned on Instagram 3 different ways, and then it's the wrong thing. Right. So, yeah, I get a lot of inputs, and a lot of them don't turn into anything, even though I know people are begging for information, because I'm like, I have to get this. If I only hear this from one guy at EA, the company's so dang big, right? I want to hear. I want to hear it confirmed from somebody who's a dev, somebody who's in QA, somebody who's in comms. Okay, that guy in comms, he's on Madden. He doesn't actually know anything. Let me go back to somewhere else here before I let it out. Because to your point, yeah, things change all the time. Right? Like I don't think we're telling tales out of school here. There was definitely a different release date that was socialized and circulated throughout the company earlier this year that I didn't run, even though I saw it in some PDF documents. There were different dates and different plans for how the company was going to share certain information. And if I tweeted every single thing I got, it would change all the time and people would scream at me. So I know I get that it's frustrating, but yeah, I do have to be pretty conservative.
Yeah. I would say your way of filtering information is very impressive.
No, thank you.
It's very impressive.
Yeah,
It's also very
maybe
appreciated.
in a different life, maybe I could have been an okay
Yeah.
developer, but
As somebody again, we've come from the company, we've been at the company. Filtering this information can get very difficult. We see now Travis Hunter's released all his videos of them doing the photo shoots. NMG, who I don't know if you've met yet or anything, he's huge in the Madden community as far as YouTuber goes. And he's, he was at the cover release. He got the opportunity to do some behind the scenes stuff. And that happened 2 months ago. At this point, and he's like, it's March, and we're filming this for a May release, and we're like, oh snap, like we know this is stuff that's happening way in advance. Like they didn't just go yesterday and do the cover, and then all right, here's the cover, guys. Like they had a legitimate crew there. They do 100. It's like shooting a movie, right?
Yeah.
It's literally like shooting a movie, and they have a producer, they have a director, they have all these pieces that have to come together. I'm sure we'll see some stuff. I know Chris Fowler's been tweeting about a lot of the stuff he's been doing from a commentaries perspective and how they just wrapped up. We're going to start to see these pieces slowly come together, and it's going to be into a product that we've all been waiting for 11 years now.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say like that. That's honestly one of the other things I want to help fans understand a little bit better. One of the things that I think is unique about this project, and you two get this, is that so many of the people involved are college football sickos, right? Yeah. They live and breathe this stuff, right? They've been wearing burnt orange since they were in onesies. They've been singing the songs that they understand these traditions, and they understand that it means something to people on a spiritual level. Like literally, I mean that word in a way that whatever the Texans do or the Cowboys do doesn't, because you go to Texas, you go to A&M, you don't go to the Cowboys.
Right.
And I know what it's like to work at a company that a lot of people don't like and are constantly screaming at you. And I get how frustrating it must be to be like, I'm cooking here, and I have something that deeply is meaningful to me, and I can't share it with you, or I can't talk about it yet. And when it's finally out there, at that level of like satisfaction and release, that's uncommon, right? If you work in games, sometimes you get to work on your baby, and sometimes you make it Bejeweled 7, and people aren't crying at the release of Bejeweled 7. You know what I mean? Or like, the latest Land Before Time mobile game release. And like, I think the humanity of this thing is something I want to do a better job of communicating to the world.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I know we're running out of time. We are short of time here. We would appreciate you jumping on again. We'll probably see if we can get you on sometime in the summer. Before we get out of here, though, why don't you let the people know, kind of plug yourself in, Extra Points newsletter, anything else you want to plug in real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter. If I'm hanging on Twitter, it means I'm putting off doing my actual work. That's at Matt Brown EP. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, all that other stuff here. And the newsletter is at extrapointsmb.com. So if you care about the video game, there's stuff there. If you're interested in how college sports is changing, if you're interested in NIL and law and media and operations and finance and all that stuff, from big schools to little ones, you can find it there too. And you can find our computer game, Athletic Director Simulator 4000, on that website as well, which I hope you all enjoy.
Well, Matt, we do appreciate you coming by. Listen, guys, make sure that you go and you get on with Extra Points newsletter. It literally has everything that you're looking for. It's not hard. It's very easy to subscribe and get this information in your hands. And then all you got to do is wait for an email, and it will come to you, and you'll be notified. You'll get to see things in depth and understand what's going on behind the scenes. It's not hard.
I appreciate it. I promise you guys, I'm not using here gigantic words every single time. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Two of the newsletters are free. Like the ones that come out on Fridays, those are free. The one I'm going to finish writing for tonight will be in your inbox at 4:20 in the morning, Central Standard Time. It'll be there when you get your coffee. It'll be free. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for having me, fellas.
No problem.
Absolutely, Matt.
Stopping by.
Yep, be well.
All righty, guys. Well, Tim, let's wrap up here before we get out of here. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
You can find me at Tim Wayne on Twitter. You can also find me at at the Longhorn fan battle. I'm not the main guy talking trash. That's my guy to the left here, to my left here. Man, listen, we got a full trailer coming tomorrow. There was a lot of things that I wanted to ask Matt, but honestly, it wasn't a good time to ask him, to be completely honest with you guys. I had a ton of questions, but again, you got to be able to read the room. Again, we've got too much stuff coming out within the next couple of days to even ask those questions. Let's just let the trailer come out. Let's see what's going on Tuesday and go from there. If we, when we get him back on, hopefully before the game launches, then we'll ask those questions. But until then, let's just take a deep breath. What's one more day? We've been waiting 11 years. What's one more day? They've already confirmed that there's going to be a trailer dropping. Let's just wait and see what happens and go from there.
Absolutely. You guys, you can find me at the Uncle Gandhi. Again, I'm talking all the trash on the LH fan battle. Listen, if you're an OKC fan, I am still talking trash to you because I'm thinking this is Texas versus OU because that's basically what this is. And let me tell you something here, OU fans. I've known the entire series that this was a bad matchup for OKC. I knew it from the moment that OKC got the 1 seed. I was like, Dallas is going to win this series. And I had no doubts about it. I actually originally had, if I had Dallas winning in 6.
Okay.
If Maxi Kleber didn't get hurt, this series would be over. Even with they would have swept them. Last
night's game was very close. I was kind of like, everybody seemed to be a little off, and maybe you can, because you've watched more Maverick games than I have. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. So maybe you can go into more detail. It seemed like everybody was off. It just seemed like it was just like not whoever has the ball last, but just whoever made less turnovers would probably win the game, and that kind of
that didn't happen.
That didn't.
The Mavericks had 14 turnovers. OKC had 7. This is why here's the thing. OKC is a very at the end of the day, and if you think about it, the Celtics are too.
Okay.
These two teams heavily rely on making the 3 ball.
Okay.
OKC took 43s yesterday. They made 10.
Yeah, that's bad.
They basically shot.
I mean, but the game was so relatively close. This wasn't a blowout last night.
It wasn't, but the game got up to 18 in the fourth quarter. Dallas.
In the fourth.
But if you look at what OKC does as their strength, it's shoot the 3. You know what Dallas has done this entire series since game 1? They've sold out to stop the 3.
Okay.
They did the same thing against the Clippers. The Clippers had the only 2 games where the Clippers beat the Mavericks, they shot very well from 3.
Right.
The only 2 games OKC beat the Mavericks, they shot very well. They shot very well from 3, and the Mavericks had to shoot 50% from the free throw line.
Okay.
This is not the same Dallas defense that people are used to seeing, even in the dark year. This is probably the best Mavericks defense I've ever seen.
Really?
I've never seen a Mavericks defense be this good, where they don't have to score 130 points a game. If you look at the dark years, except for 2011, right? You had to score over 110 points for the Mavericks to even have a shot because their opponent was going to score just as much, if not more.
Right.
Because they didn't play defense.
Right.
Dallas plays very good defense. They have 2 big men that can control the boards. And unless you get a fluky game like game 5 or game 4, where the Mavericks just went on whatever they did in that third quarter and they shot 50% from 3 or 50% from the free throw line, Dallas was going to win game 4. They were up by 15 points, 18 points.
Yeah. Okay.
At the same token, every game that Dallas has lost, they have 1 quarter in that game where they shot poorly. Game 1 against the Clippers, they had that second quarter where they only had 8 points. Game 4 against the Clippers, they had the third quarter where they scored like 15 points. Game 1 in this series, they had the second quarter where they scored like 15 points. And then, of course, game 4 where they only scored 12. they've outscored their opponent in every single quarter except for those 4 quarters, and they've lost 4 games this entire playoff. This is a very good defensive team.
That's an impressive
Very,
stat.
very, very, very good defensive team. The only OKC was outmatched from game 1 in this series, and I knew it the moment that the matchup was set. I knew this was a mismatch because OKC does not have the bigs and they cannot control the boards. And they always give up that corner 3. OKC will give you the corner 3. I think it's like 17% of the time. They're going to give you that corner 3 wide open. And all you have to do is you need guys that can hit it. Guess what? Dallas has 4 of them. It's
Hey,
that
man,
simple.
listen.
They're just a better. The playoffs are all about matchups and adjustments when it comes to these 7-game series. So
Listen, man, I was talking to a basketball coach.
very excited.
I was talking to a basketball coach earlier today, talking about Dallas and how impressive they are. And they were really, high on saying, hey, look, like Dallas didn't play at their best last night, but they still have an opportunity to make it to the finals.
They do.
It's a very, very, very high chance that they end up in the or the Western Conference Finals with a chance to make it to the NBA Finals.
I will say I would much rather play the Timberwolves than I would rather play Denver if I'm Dallas. Because with the Timberwolves, you can make Rudy Gobert unplayable because you have two guards that can play off the ball. Mm-hmm. And Rudy Gobert is basically rendered useless at that point. So now you're playing 5-on-4.
Right.
So I would much rather play the Timberwolves. I think it'd be a difficult series. I still think Dallas would win that series in 6. The Nuggets, they can beat the Nuggets. But you need Kyrie, and Kyrie is not really Kyrie right now. I mean, I don't think he's played himself out of the series, but he's not the scoring Kyrie that I expected him to be. So, but yeah, this team has a very good chance to make. They're gonna win. They're gonna win on Saturday. The series is over. OKC is cooked.
Wait, they play on Saturday? I thought they played tomorrow.
They got 2 days rest this time. This is the only game where there's 2 days rest in between.
Okay.
So Luka and Kyrie will be fresh. They'll be at home. They'll finish it out, and then we'll see what. I hope Denver and Minnesota goes 7. So. Get a little bit of rest. But yeah, you can find me at the Uncle Gandhi. Find us at LH Fan Battle. Shout out to JD. Dallas is very good and can make it. Yes, they are. They are very good. This is a very good Dallas team. Probably the best we've had in obviously since 2011. I think this kind of rivals that 2011 team because they can also score a lot of points.
Right.
So, but hey, that's us. We're gonna get out of here. We want to thank Matt Brown once again coming on the show today, Giving us a lift, giving us some college football, EA Sports college football news. I do want to bring him on. There is a specific topic I want to talk about with Matt Brown that has very unrelated to college football. It's about the SEC and realignment. He wrote something about his newsletter on this around transfer portal and when you transfer, when you can get in. So we'll try to get him in during the summer, and we'll talk about that probably in July as we get towards the season. So, But between now and then, my name is Harish. This is my guy, Tim Wayne. We out of here. Peace.
Joe Gabriel.
Go home, touchdown like the end zone.